Joining us right now is our next guest, Coach Geoff Collins. I am super excited for this conversation, and obviously appreciate his time just as much as Luke's. What a great coach, and obviously not much of an intro needed. I'm sure you saw the Twitter, Instagram of his career and where he's been, and all the great stuff he's done defensively. Also as a head coach, Power Five, Group of Five. There's not a person that's accomplished more, in my opinion, in the profession. And honestly, just super blessed to have you, Coach. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me on, man. This is a big deal, and if at the end of my career and even at the end of my life, if my players speak the way you and Luke do, and my daughter, who's 9 right now, speaks the way Mackenzie did of her father, that I will consider that a huge success.
Appreciate you. And as a coach, you understand, right? You've obviously been a head coach and seen family dynamics work, and great coaches you have, and nurtured those relationships. And obviously, he's a special man,
Right.
and it's one of those deals. So let's get into it, man. Let's get
Let's
into it. So,
go.
defensive vision, identity. You've been, you're known as the minister of mayhem, and basically what that means. I want to see what your philosophy, what's the actually means in terms of how your defense plays, and how do you build that mayhem?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is, players come first, but you have to set a vision, set a mindset of how you want it to look, how you want the defense to approach the game. When people turn on the film, what is that going to look like? And I still remember I was a young coach in the Northeast. That's when I first got to know who Coach Mack was. But was at Fordham University. Then I was 25, 26 years old, and a Division III defensive coordinator job got offered to me. I didn't really know much. I'm like, hey, that sounds good being a defensive coordinator at this young age. I'll do it. And went to Reading, Pennsylvania for 2 years. And I still remember the first sign that I put on the door, and it's kind of carried with me every phase of my coaching career, is the defensive unit meeting room. It said the best defense in the nation meets here. So every single day when that defense walked into that room, they saw the best defense in the nation meets in this room, goes out to this practice field. This is our process. This is our mindset. And everything that we did, from preparation to how we practice to how we play, reflected back to that initial statement and vision to what we wanted to have. And I was blessed that that first year the players actually made that vision come true. And I think we led Division III in defensive football. It helped, Dan, that we had 11 seniors. So the next year wasn't quite, even though we had the same slogan, wasn't quite the same result. But then you fast forward, I guess it was 20 years later, I'm the defensive coordinator at the University of Florida in the SEC, and that same sign is on the entrance to the defensive meeting room at the University of Florida, and was there for 2 years. And I was blessed to have that mindset come true as a Gator.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And the belief, I think whenever you're a new person, the sell of it is just as important. Getting buy-in is just as important. So that's really well said. You mentioned, this is a perfect segue. You mentioned DC, Mississippi State, Florida, SEC, leading defenses in the SEC that led. I mean, you had 7 NFL linebacker draft picks, right? Beyond the talent, what's the secret behind those great defenses? Was it just a belief, or was there more?
I think, I mean, it always starts with the players, but then just having a belief system in them, finding out the things that they do really well, pouring into them, seeing the greatness of what they can become. I
Right.
think there's a lot of times when you get into coaching is it's very easy to find the negatives and harp on the negatives and kind of beat the guys down. But if you see greatness in them and truly find the things that they are special at and then pull that out of them, I think you can have them achieve amazing things by your belief system. Because some of these young men that we're blessed to coach haven't really had male figures in their life that have believed in them or spoken positivity to them, or had them have an expectation to realize. And just to having that male mentor I think is huge.
Yeah, no, that not a lot of men get compliments anyway, but if you're a coach, those 18-year-olds, when a coach says something, they listen, whether it's
Right.
positive or negative. I completely agree. So that's awesome. Let's get into some scheme because I know some coaches around here and they're like scheme, 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 but a lot
Yeah.
of it's you're based off mainly innovation, in my opinion.
Right.
How do you balance being chaotic and mayhem, but then
Right.
managing or remaining fundamentally sound?
Well, and it's interesting. I've got a young man that was a student assistant for me at the University of North Carolina is actually on this call.
Oh, that's
I won't
awesome.
embarrass him calling out my name, but he just became a high school defensive coordinator. And so we had a long conversation about this very topic today. And, you're a young coach, or really any of us, you want to show the players how smart you are. You want to show the players all the cool stuff that all the cool, sexy blitzes that you've learned, all these things. You want to show the players all these things. But at the end of the day, it's how fast can they play? How can they put their eyes in the right spot, react to the keys with repetition over and over in a system that looks complicated to an offense, but for the players is very simple, very sound. And the thing that I always try to tell to the coaches that I work with is keep the easy stuff very easy for the players. Because a
Ooh,
lot of time, us as
that's a good one.
coaches,
That's a
we
good
can take the easiest thing in the world and make it super hard. Like we're really good at doing that. And I always caution against that. And the other thing is to find a way and really work at it to make things that are super complex very easy. So how can you keep the easy stuff simple, and how can you take the stuff that is hard, that is complex, but make it relatable and at the same time make it simple? And I think that's been the beauty of the success that I've been blessed to have, is I've been able to do that philosophy. Figuring out ways, whether it be the way we name things or the way we package things, for them to be digestible to the players, so they know whenever we say a rapper, wherever we say a natural disaster, active, whatever it is, here's this little bucket that we're putting this in. Here are the techniques that we use in this bucket, whatever they may be. You just got to pull from the bucket. Don't worry about all of this magnitude of defense that we have. We have it, but I say natural disaster pressure. Well, let's just live in that world right now. Everybody knows I'm a hot 2 to 3 dropper. I'm whatever. We're going to run our natural disaster. And I think that simplicity helps. Now, it's hard to do,
one.
because you want to come up with the perfect word or the perfect verbiage or the perfect technique. But sometimes you just got to let players settle in and trust them to make plays within the scheme, whatever that is.
No, a lot of things I took from that. Obviously, the teaching aspect of it and keeping it easy,
Yeah.
right? And then understanding kind of what world you're living in and segmenting it in that way. So it's not, I got to learn a 700-page playbook. I just need to learn those buckets of information. And
Yep.
I call the blitz from this bucket. Let's take it, right? And I think that's a big piece in terms of teaching when you're installing.
And then taking the time to really know your players and what they can do and what they're really good at. You might have, and I think I predicate a lot of the things that I've done defensively based on one position to start, and that's the star position, the nickel. Who is your nickel? Who is your star? What can he do really, really well? Because that position, more than any, has the most stress on it, in my opinion, in football, whether that be the sandbacker if you're paying base defense, or you put a cover slot corner out there. What can that dude do? And then base your defense around whatever that is.
Yeah, you're right. I hope my star linebacker's listening because I tell him that all the time. As a first time DC,
Yep.
calling a game on the sideline, calling a game up in the booth, right?
Right.
What's your advice? Is it just experience? Do you just need to learn as it goes? Or what would you give them? You've done it at so many different places, but
Right.
go back to your first time, obviously, first time. Or what advice that you've learned all right, through your experience, and you've obviously hired people, and
Right.
what makes a good one? And you're calling it on the sideline, you're calling it up in the box your first time.
Right.
What's some advice?
Well, one of the biggest pieces of advice I will give, and I think in this day and age of college football and day and age of social media, coaches want to rush the process.
Sure.
How fast can I get to be an SEC or a Big Ten defensive coordinator or head coach? What's the fastest path to that? And I'm living proof that if you take your time, take a Division III job, take an FCS job. I was a Division III defense coordinator for 2 years, very proud of it. I was an FCS defensive coordinator for 4 years, extremely proud of it. And I got to learn in a setting that might not have 8 million people watching on TV or, 100K at the game. I got to learn what to do, hit some speed bumps, take some risks. And so when I'm playing in the SEC championship game, Alabama versus Florida, I've been there before. I've been Albright College versus Catholic University in DC, #1 versus #2, and it meant just as much personally to me and personally to those players. So my advice would be find leadership opportunities young, places that you can really grow and develop as a play caller, and do it. And then I'm probably in the minority with what I'm about to say too, is hop on the video games, hop on the sticks, play. You don't have to control the little dudes. Like, they're going to do what they're going to do, but go through and you get a flex double mug in Madden and do practice calling a game.
Yeah, no
Get
doubt.
the reps in however you can get them.
Yeah, stealing reps is important. Like, even
Still the
watching
reps.
watching game on TV, there's not a game I'm not watching where I'm not calling out calls in my head. And my wife's like,
Yep.
"You do it, right?" But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And obviously, I'm very proud of the D3, D2, stuff. And like you said, it's the leadership opportunities, right? Where if you're failing, it's okay to fail at those places because the
Yep.
challenge is big. So
And
that's
then
very,
you
very
just get
important.
reps at
Yeah, you
putting
get reps.
yourself
Yeah.
in front of a group of men and sharing a vision and sharing a belief system that is going to transcend, so that, when you're in front of, like you said, 7 straight NFL draft picks, you have been there and had conversations about the game and a devout development, and can help those young men too.
Yeah, it's like the first public speaking you ever did. I'm sure is not as good as what it is now. You need practice,
Right.
right? And I think people, like you said, want to rush the process or whatever, but practice is, obviously the key. Going more towards scheme, toughest type of offense out there to defend schematically. You can't say triple though. I don't want.
Right.
I don't want to get into zone, pitch key, read key. But just
Now, I
what
will say this: the last time we played the triple option when I was at Temple, the Temple Owls came out pretty
right,
good.
no
Anyway,
doubt.
but
Yes, right.
that we'll have that conversation another
What
time.
makes offenses hard to defend? I guess
So I
that's
think one of the biggest things, and you kind of see 15 years ago, the advent of the spread. And it took some teams a long time to catch up to calling defenses against the spread. Well, now you're starting to see the pendulum swing, and now it's harder for defensive coaches to call against a huddle. You're starting to see teams that are huddling up, taking their time, max motions, max shifts, all of those kind of things. And I think you're kind of starting to see, and especially with the headset communication being allowed now, is the huddle piece. I'm finding, talking to my buddies around the game, is the players now in high school, they never see a huddle. And then they get to college, and there's Boston College. You're lining up against your alma mater, and they're having a huddle. Billy O'Brien's waking until 11 seconds on the snap clock, breaking, shift,
awesome.
motion, snap the ball. And the thing that has to happen now is, I think defensive coaches during the era of just no huddle, tempo, spread, is it became calling the defense based on the pictures you were seeing. Because you were seeing a 20 personnel look, a yo tight end in the back. Well, that's the look you're going to get. The ball snapped. You can make your call based on the offensive presentation, and you don't have to worry about checks and adjustments. You're just dialing it up. Well, now, as a defensive play caller, you've got to go back to when I was with Coach Saban in '07. You better have, with that one call, 5 different things that could happen defensively based on the structures they come out in. And I think that's probably, in my estimation, the huddle, max shifts, max motions. I think that's been the toughest thing for defensive coaches to catch up with.
Yeah, and speaking on the green dot, when you're talking to your mic, let's say most recently at UNC, right?
Yep.
Talking to your mic, what give coaches, an idea of kind of what the communication's happening and how much information's too much and then how much is too little.
Right. Well, so here's the thing I think, and this is globally. I again think coaches try to be too smart and they try to inundate players with way too much information. What I try to do is I have a process globally for a defense and then specifically per position. Let's talk Mike linebacker. Here are the things we're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, game prep. Here are the things that we're going to study formationally. Here's the things that we're going to study stances. Here's the things we're going to study tight end depths, running back depths, widths, all of those things. We're going to put all that into play and teach them and develop what I'm going to be able to see on game day. Well, if you're talking to them all the way up until the snap, well, then why did you have them study that stuff Monday through Thursday? And so my biggest thing, what I tried to do last year with Amari Campbell, who just transferred to Penn State, is let him diagnose some things while I'm giving him the call.
Right.
Give him the call 2 times, boom, let him do his magic. And I tried to be, and I think he would co-sign it. I tried to be very sensitive about the amount of information that I'm peppering in his head before the ball, because he's got to get my call. Then he's got to tell the D line what to do, and then he's got to be able to reload a strength or put a stun on. Well, this guy needs to shut up and let him do his magic. Just give him a good call or a halfway decent call that he can at least play fast in, and let him do his magic.
Yeah, no, letting the players play fast
Yep.
and confused players, a slow player, right? So if you're just constantly just peppering them with
Watch
information,
the power, watch the power, watch the power.
how's that helping them, right?
Yep.
But, for people, new coaches in college football that are maybe raising levels or something, I figured that was relevant. Going towards innovation again.
Yep.
You were a big believer, and I respect this a lot. This is one of the reasons I admire you a lot in self-expression, for athletes. And you've mentioned it again. One of the reasons I admire you so much is it's all about the players.
Yep.
How does self-expression fuel performance?
Well, I think the more comfortable you are, you're going to coach better. You're going to play better. I saw one of the things that you had listed earlier in our prep, so we could do a little homework, was the coach that is one of the biggest influences to you.
Right.
Well, mine, I've worked for Coach Saban. I've worked for Hall of Famer Mac Brown, Dan Mullen after, right when he got done with Urban Meyer. So a lot of that influence. But the biggest influence of me as a coach was Jim McElwain. He was the head coach at Florida. And throughout my career at times, I had to, even though I do have somewhat of a personality, I do express myself publicly, but I still tried to fit into a box. And Mac was like, Geoff, I hired you to be you. Go be you. Let the players be them. Because when you're more comfortable in your skin, you're who you are. I'm not out there trying to be Nick Saban Jr. out there, because that's not my personality. I can still have learned the things from him. Well, the same thing goes with players. If players understand what the standard is, here's how we're going to play the game. As long as you are doing these things from a technique, fundamentals, execution, effort wise, physicality, all those things, well, go let it rip. just go play some ball, and I spent a lot of time with the Commanders during spring OTAs, and that's one of the things I admire so much about DQ is let it rip. Here's the information, here's the playbook, here's how we have a standard of play, but you got to cut it loose and play. And I think when guys have that freedom, and another thing that I'll say is if they know that there's a coach on the sideline that truly loves them and truly cares about them and their interests, they will let their guard down and just cut it loose. Because guys want to know that they are cared for. You have their best interest at heart, and you will have their back through it all. All that does is elevate their performance,
Yeah,
it
let them be.
increases trust, all those things.
Yeah, like I always say to our guys, standard over schemes, all the time, because how you how you sell it, how you believe in it is a huge piece. And let it rip is obviously a great thing. And the scary thing, if you look at it from a scheme pay, like from a scared perspective, but letting it rip to a player, like we were players. And when I heard
Right.
a coach say, let it fucking rip, that's exciting, right?
Right.
That gets me fired up. I'm like,
Let it rip.
right, let it rip is an awesome way to express it. So that's cool.
What Bruce Arians say? No risk it, no biscuit.
Biscuit, no biscuit,
Go
right?
get that
Scared money
biscuit,
don't make
champ.
money, right? Scared money don't make money. But that's that. I mean, that's obviously defense about run to the ball, taking right angles,
Yep.
things right, and obviously belief in each other. So that's awesome. Linebacker specific questions. You've coached some great ones. Okay, so practice habits, that you could pass on. There's a lot of players on this call trying to learn how to get better. Maybe a
Sure.
linebacker on the call. What's a practice habit, a routine, maybe something you've done, maybe something, one of your coaches have done, that you would pass on that, would work out?
Right. Well, one of the best linebackers that I've ever coached, Bernard McKinney. So I had him 4 years at Mississippi State, 6'5", 255 pounds. Great. I mean, just a giant of a man. But I had him for his whole 4 years in college, all SEC, all those kind of things. Ended up being the highest paid middle linebacker in the NFL for a run of a couple of years. Anyway, the thing that he developed early is being a leader, arriving early, staying late, being the hardest worker in the weight room. You watch that. I don't know if I'm sure people on this call have watched the Swamp Kings documentary on the University of Florida. We ran that same program when Dan came to Mississippi State, and being the one who worked the hardest, prepared the hardest, knew the offense inside and out, knew the game plan inside and out, practiced his ass off every single day. Those are the kind of things, and Luke talked about it earlier, is just having, you're the example of how this thing is going to go. And you're the one that's making the call, because Mike's usually make the call, Will's usually make all the checks, and you getting people lined up. Well, if they don't trust you to run this certain stunt or even get to this tight call, whatever the case may be, if there's hesitation in that trust, because they don't know if you prepared, you got to take all of that out of the equation. I know my stuff, and I'm going to put you in the spot that you need to be because I know exactly where this blitz is supposed to go. Here's the check if they reload it. Here's the kill if they go max protection. All of those things, I got it. And you've got to show that you're that dude throughout the week of prep and really even in the off season, year round, in college and high school ball.
Right. No, that was that was awesome. I mean, yeah, it's the expectation that you're going to be accountable for your actions too, like that you're going to be the hardest worker in the room, and others are servant leadership stuff. In terms of game planning, install prep, some tricks, some secret sauce, Geoff Collins stuff. Um, I know you have some things you like to look at in terms of
Right.
when you're game planning against opponents.
Yeah.
Um,
And for me, it all starts with the hit chart.
right.
So and the GAs, there's stories that from my GAs that are legendary. Rhino Williams with the Seahawks or with the Eagles, Justin Hines with the Seahawks, Christian Garcia with the Arizona Cardinals were former GAs of mine, and the stories of our preparation have become legendary in our circles. But the preparation for me as a play caller starts with the hit chart. What are they doing out of each formation? How can I attack protections? How can I dominate the run scheme? All of those things starts there. And as I sit there and I put down, here's my thoughts and here's what we want to do, coverage wise, pressure wise, what 3-by-1 adjustment we want to make to this coverage, all those things, there is a process to that. And then what I do is throughout the week, I memorize all of it. So, I mean, however many 67 formations, whatever the backfield sets that you're going to see that week, is I just constantly download that information all the way up until the tip. Like if you see me in the 2 hours before a game, usually I'm on the bench, our bench, and I'm just sitting there studying the hit charts. I've got exactly what I want to dial up, ready for these things as they come up. The more they do formationally, the more defense coverage pressures that will be there. And then if there's something that they've done it 4 or 5 times, here's the two things that they're going to get lit up with. So just the things that I know for 100%, this is what they're going to do. But they're about to be a big play for the defense that we're running, those kind of things. So, but it all starts with the hit chart for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, that in terms of, talk about you're super prepared. You're memorizing your game plan. You got
Yep.
sheets, you know exactly what's going on. Things change.
Yep.
You're down, they're coming out in funky formations. You're kind of struggling, you're reeling to try to get back,
Right.
get a drive, get a stop, right? We talk about stop rate or points per
Yep.
possession, whatever you're tracking. At the end of the day, you're trying to get a stop, but
Yep.
we're struggling here. How do you get back on track with calling stuff? Is it simplifying? Is it getting more creative? Is it bringing more pressure?
So the early in my career, it was the last thing that you said
Right.
would be to just light them up. Let's just bring a double edge. That'll calm their ass
Templates,
down, all
fire
those kind of things. Well, you do that enough. Well, they watch tape too. All right, we're lighting them up. They're about to bring it. And then they max pro and they take you up top. Anyway, so what is at the beginning of the week? Here is the structure, whether it be quarters, whether it be palms, whether it be quarter, quarter, half, single high, man. What is the thing that translates to what they do that we can play to anything? And then your guys know it. And I've gone to where we're going to whatever that is, whether it be, hey, this week, if everything's going to hell, we're just calling Busta. Or if everything's going to hell, we're calling Wheezy, whatever it is, and let them get their feet set and go make plays. Because the kids are feeling it too. And what kids want to do when they start feeling the rope kind of slipping, well, they start pressing and stressing as well. Well, if they're pressing and stressing, and then you're pressing and stressing, bringing some overload pressure, that's just going to compound the issue. Give them something they can get their feet set and they can just go make a play and let them fix it.
Yeah, no, that's profound. So that's exactly what I feel like young guys do is they want to just
And I did it. I did it too.
and
So I
sometimes
get
it's
it.
right if you feel it. I was talking to a bunch of mentors and it's almost like talk to me about abusing preparation. So I never thought of it this way, but someone brought this up to me. It was like abusing preparation, like saving stuff for situations rather than they come out and FIB into the boundary, blah blah. Like the first time they do it, we're gonna
Right.
sack.
Yep.
Have you ever saved stuff for later on, like for a situation, like someone's and you don't call it the first time, then call it the second? Talk to me about that concept.
100%. So I'll have a list. I've got a mental Rolodex of here's how I want to attack certain things. And so I have it memorized throughout the week. I'll go A, B, and C, 1, 2, and 3, whatever. Here's how I'm going to unleash on them as these things present themselves during the game. So I'll have that plan. Another thing, and one of my favorite games as a play caller, Western Carolina University. We're playing number 2 Furman University, which at the time was the team in FCS. And it was week 3. And I had set up week 1 and 2, which to set a certain set of tendencies for that game. So game 1, game 2, I just set my own tendencies. And then we got to the game versus Furman, number 2 in the country, and we changed every tendency we had. And excuse my language, but we whipped that ass. And
That's
so certain things like that, if you feel that during the season, there's a team that you play every year that you have a pretty good beat on, that you want to change some things up before you lead into the game against them, you know, I'm
that's
all for doing that
would
too.
fire me up. Nothing feels better than doing stuff like so. You're up 30 points and you send a corner pressure just to put it on tape or
Yep.
stuff like that. I mean, I've
Yep.
watched you do that. Honestly, I've watched you FCS team. Maybe it was a Temple or Georgia Tech, and
Right.
sudden there's a random corner pressure from the field.
Yep.
But you know what? It's on tape now, and you can't take it away, and it's in their charts, and it freaks them out. You think we're basket cases as defensive coordinators? The offensive guys are way worse.
No question.
They're way worse.
All right.
That's definitely a cool thing to look at. All right, really, last thing. I mean, just kind of talk to the group, and now I know you're busy and you have a lot of stuff going on. Time's important, but kind of talk to the group on, just coordinator philosophy. We covered a lot of it already, so I don't know if you want to
Sure.
go too much, but just recapping.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on linebacker play, what this night, kind of meant to you, and why
Right.
you want to give back, to the community.
Right. Well, one of the biggest pieces for me is, what is your philosophy as a coach, as a man, as a human being? How do you see the game? And what I've done is I've created a pyramid, and I can share it to whoever wants it. And what I do, and it's the very top of the pyramid, the pinnacle, is get the ball. That is the number one thing, right? At the bottom, the base layer, pray great fundamentals, blah, 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 right? The base simple things. And then it progressively moves up to, what is your core philosophy and what do you really believe in as a play caller when you get to be a head coach, as a head coach? And then you've got to go, and what I always do is during the summer, I readjust it. Hey, this trend is whatever, we need to start focusing more on this, or this really paid off for us, we got to really hone in on this, whatever it is. And just, here's the core foundation. We're going to play with effort, we're going to play with great fundamentals, whatever those things that you truly believe in. And then whatever 4 or 5 tiers, how they increase importance as you go. And it's just something that you can always fall back on. You can use in the preseason to show your guys, here's the core philosophy of our defense. If something bad happens to us, it doesn't matter. Put the ball down and we're going to go and fix it. And that needs to be on there, whatever those things are. And I just stole that from Pete Carroll's book, I think it was Win Forever. And that was in 2010. And I've done it every single year since. So just going through that exercise, who you are, what you believe in, and what you're going to be able to translate to the guys so that they can show that same philosophy on the field.
Yeah, whenever I hire people or, whenever I, new coaches, whatever, just be yourself, right? The players
Yep.
are so smart. They could sniff out a phony like this, right?
1,000,000%.
And it's hard though, like you said, to keep your philosophy so strong in the age of these kids and coaches being on their phones 24/7. And, oh, I like this guy now. And now I like this trend. And I like this. I like this. And I like that. And you try to implement too much. That's not you. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not
Yep.
you. You believe it. Then you're all over the place. Then you have no identity. Then the players don't trust you. Then it all erupts, right?
Yep.
So being true, having that pyramid set up is a great exercise. I never really thought about maybe a 3 month, 6 month like grounding exercise to just have
Right.
philosophy talks within yourself. Like, am I practicing what I preach? Right? Am I
Right.
doing the habits the way that I'd be proud of, or am I switching it up because of outside factors? So
Right.
that was
And then last little thing, and this is really important to me, and you can kind of hear it when you guys talk about Coach Gov, is whenever I approach a new group or whenever I get introduced to a new set of players, is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And what you care about, as long as it's them, you care about them as men, you care about their development, you want to put their needs, hopes, ambitions at the front of your mind as well. And then what do you care about football wise, philosophy wise, and then we can move forward. But if you don't care about them as people and you don't really care about respecting the game or whatever else it is, then they're going to see you as disingenuous and you got no chance.
And these are powerful words. And hopefully for the coaches listening, this was geared towards coaches. Obviously, we appreciate Geoff and Coach Collins' time. But what powerful stuff. I mean, from a head coach, coordinator, I mean, to me, admire the heck out of him and what he shared tonight. I mean, so many nuggets back and forth from just things that I've learned and I'm taking from. And I regard Coach as a huge mentor to me as I go through my process and obviously as I learn. But there's good people in football and you're one of them. So I appreciate you
Appreciate that.
doing this tonight. I appreciate it.
All right, Coach.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
guys.
See you, man.